Karibuni, welcome tuelimishwe kwa masuala ya jamii, tuchunguzwe sana mbalimbali, tujuzwe juu ya matukio ya kila pembe, towapa burudani kwa familia nzima.
Very good evening. My name is Likuyani Eli, and we are coming to you live all the way from Europe's capital. Remember, you can tune in with the hashtag Family Edition, equally ArtinHeart. The session tonight is quite interesting because we are talking of matters that matter to you, and this is sibling rivalry. But to help me digest this and much more, I have none other than the very own able coach Collins Bolo. Good evening, coach. How are you tonight?
Good evening. I'm fine and well, Eli.
Yep.
And interestingly, today I'm not in Mombasa. I'm in Voi, enjoying some moment here of business conversation with the people of Taita.
People of Taita, Wadawida.
Wadawida, as they call it.
Great,
Yeah,
coach.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but I know from the spaces I come from, I've seen so much when it comes to siblings and relationships according to them. And most of the time we've heard of stories of them fighting, even to the extent of killing one another. That's what we're calling tonight, sibling rivalry. Kindly define to us, what is sibling rivalry in the first place?
Now, when we talk about sibling rivalry, now, basically sibling rivalry is jealous competition and also fight between brothers and sisters. I'll repeat again, sibling rivalry is jealousy, competition, and fight between brothers and sisters. So most of the time it's a concern for most of the parents of two or more kids. So once they're there, this kind of problem in one way or the other comes in as children continue growing. Especially this problem often starts right after the birth of the second child within a home.
Oh, just after the second child. So to be safe, just stay with one.
No, because it's part of growth and development. The only challenge is that parenting need to be very intentional. But most of us, when it comes to career success, we spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources to be trained to be expert in the area of our careers. But when it comes to parenting, unfortunately, most of the time, people don't have a program whereby they can be trained, they can be coached so that they can be effective with their parenting. So with good training, coaching, and concept about parenting, it should not be a problem. Just as children get into adolescence, it should not be an issue of fear when we prepare them well.
Yeah, but coach, it's easier to say that, but in practicals, these things get very difficult. And especially now that you mentioned, once the second born comes into picture, stuff starts happening. And I was reading, and it was interesting that at 18 months, a child is able to start, marking their territory, especially if they have a sibling that is there. And to the extent that they'll actually notice when you're doing favorism among them or between them. So, coach, to help us understand this, how or where does it all begin? Ndio watu waanze unajua kushikiana nyongo kama ndugu.
Yeah. Actually, you realize children learn through observation. That's one of the key things. They learn through observation. And before they start even conversing and speaking one word, most of the time they have a lot of intelligence to understand the environment, to understand the type of care which they are getting from the mother, who is the primary caregiver to the child, and immediate family members. So the moment this child gets a lot of attention from the parent, then something comes up and the attention is divided to something else, and it's no longer an object of attention. Then from this point, it's very much possible the feeling of rivalry can come, especially once they identify there's a second party or third party getting the attention which I'm supposed to get from my father or my mother. Sometimes when children are born too close, like one firstborn is just 1 year and a half, 1 year, 6 months. Then the second born comes up. So this child is getting all the attention, being given all the good names, Shosho, Daddy, Babu. Then somebody else comes in and brings the competition. Children are intelligent enough to know there's a diversion of attention at this particular point, and it can lead. And it becomes even much more when there's compliments and comments which are given to one party against the other party. And if the first initial party was the one who used to get all those good compliments at one point of time.
Interesting, because coach, I have noticed this in a lot of families, especially for families that are not so, so compact. By that I mean, when you have more than 2, 3, 4 kids, at the end of the day you get tired of favoring. But once the last one arrives, then things automatically change. We have heard of accusations where they say, huyu nani hajapitia mambo nilipitia, and sometimes fathers actually bear the brand of being one of those obnoxious people when it comes to that. Let's listen in to one of the conversations we had in the men's den and find out why we actually need to have this conversation.
Longest time we could not sit down and story. Mnapiga story nini? Buda anakapa unashughulika huko. Always. And so I think I grew up, and then he realizes, oh, this guy is a man, he needs to be my friend, we need to be talking. But now the bond was not there. Tukikaa mimi niko tu manze, sasa mbona tunakaa hapa, sasa tunafanya nini? But then I could tell now he was making the progress, and honestly he did. And I'll tell you about my younger brother who is having a time of his life. Juzi Buda aliniambia eti bana, ongea na huyu kijana amenishinda.
Ongea na huyu kijana amenishinda. All of a sudden they cannot manage their own problems, and there's one specific interest I'm getting out of this conversation is the bonding aspect. Coach, is it or should it be a concern when parents actually give and what you call divided attentions among the children? And how then can we start addressing this, coach?
One of the things we need to understand is that each and every child is an individual and unique. And due to this uniqueness, then it's the role of each and every parent to understand the uniqueness of their children and handle them based on their uniqueness without biasness. Meaning, whether one child is firstborn, in the middle, or the last, they're not favored.
Not sit down and stop.
One is the last at one point of time. I repeat again, it's not favored because one is the firstborn or lastborn. Now, when a good environment is created whereby the children, all of them feel equally, they're children of the same parents, then it creates a very good environment whereby they all feel honored, respected, and at the same time, things are being handled in a manner that all of them play their roles at teamwork. However, still sibling rivalry is very much normal. It just happens because the moment our worldview as parents is negative about the aspect, that's where the challenge is, because it frustrates most of the parents when children, most of the time, the rivalry is very high, especially when there's a lot of verbal words against each other, which is very much common. Some of the common symptoms which we find among children, name calling is so much, bickering is so much from the children, and even some get to a lot of competition. And even the voice, sometimes the feeling of envy can be heard even from their voice at this particular point. Now, when these things happen, first of all, you need to understand that it is very much normal when such kind of things happen. What is not appropriate is when it happens as a parent, you don't have skills to make these dynamics of your children to become a point of them to learn each other and negotiate with one another. That's when it becomes a big challenge.
Coach, and again, for everybody that is watching, we'll be coming to the comment section just in a few minutes. But now, let me just engage you further, Coach. It's interesting that this is happening in a formal setting, and by formal, I'm referring to that which we'll call a nuclear family, right? But we
Yes,
understand
yes.
the society we live in today, we have blended families, we have polygamous families, and there are always issues and tissues. So, coach, how do you balance if you come from such a family? Because you realize mama mdogo yupo, mama mkubwa yupo, na wote wako na watoto.
Now, children are children, whether they come from Mama Mkubwa or Mama Mdogo. Now, it's the role of the parents to make sure that the communication pattern between them as parents and the children, it's very clear communication pattern, and not only that, to make sure that they develop conflict resolution skills among children.
Mhm.
For example, there are times where the children can get into commotion among themselves, and it becomes paramount for the parents to tell the children, I want you to go together, talk about the crisis you have, come up with a solution to the problem, then get back to me, instead of just spanking them at that point of time. Now, when they start learning the skill on how to solve problems among themselves and to respect each other in spite of whether they are first, second, third, or fourth, or from Mama Mkubwa or Mama Mdogo, then it becomes important, not only for that time, it will also help them to develop skills for future on how to resolve conflicts.
Mhm.
But once conflict comes among them, then some develop tantrums, and then they don't talk at all. They don't want anybody to reach out to them because they feel they're too important, because they're the only girls, they're the only boys. One is the firstborn, one is the lastborn. So the parents have to pamper them, give them good names so that their temperatures can come down. Then that's
Mhm.
spoiling a child at that particular point. It doesn't help at that particular stage and time. And two, it doesn't help as far as dealing with issues in future is concerned. They'll grow up to become this kind of people. Once they get into tantrum, they don't talk to anyone. They don't want to negotiate about their issue. Their mashavu becomes so huge, so big, and then it interferes with the relationship with other people, either at work or at home. So parents have a role to make sure that clear communication is among the kids, them and kids among themselves, and conflict resolution skills during childhood is developed. They have a lot of intelligence to understand and to develop with the same kind of thing.
Coach, it's okay, you'll say they have to develop this and get to learn on how to do the conflict resolutions when they arises. Hierarchy plays a role in all this, I believe, where we have the firstborn and then there is the lastborn, the firstborn who says, you can tell me nothing because I know it all, I've seen it all. And then there is this one who thinks, daddy always gets me in his arms, so I'm protected. How do we play along with the hierarchy? Because it's always there.
Yeah, it's true. The issue of hierarchy plays a key role sometimes because of how we socialize our children, even the issue of hierarchy.
Mhm.
Because, for example, the issue of hierarchy, when the firstborn is given names which make them to feel more superior than the others, then it brings an issue. Or probably the firstborn is male and is given a name of a hero, then the second one is a lady and given a name probably which makes her to be seen to be someone who is nothing, or vice versa. Already it will start creating an issue among them. Or the firstborn, because he's bright in class, is being called names like engineer. This the engineer, my boy. Then the other son, who probably is gifted and vocational and is not necessarily smart in class but smart in skills, is being called this is a matatu taught
Mhm.
or tout, or a name of something which in that community does not sound well. It will start creating feelings among people in one way or the other. And some people feel and think at the same time. So such kind of things can bring issues between, like for example, most of the time, most of the firstborns, there are people, when they have been firstborn for quite some time by themselves, they develop attitudes of taking charge on issues
Mhm.
because they are there by themselves. Then other siblings come in and now they start feeling like now they need to take charge. But the others feel like, no, you're the big bro or you're the big sis, you need to show direction. Now, such can bring conflicts. Now, as parents, it's the role of the parents to make sure if there are responsibility at home, you make them as clear as possible for each and every individual towards their development and depending in which development stage they are in. Sometimes some rivalry come in because of issues like stage. Like there's a stage whereby the girl child become extremely close to the dad. Now, Eric Erickson, the girl looks at the father, he sees the father as a symbol of strength and power. So he falls in love with the strength of the father. Two, the girl realizes that the father is different from me. It's like my brother. When he urinates, he stands and he throws the pee off. But the mom is like me, she has to squat down. So for her, that means a submission, it's a weakness. So the girl starts becoming so close to the dad at that particular point. And the mom is there. So competition starts coming in. Now, first competition, you realize that there's competition between the attention of the dad and the mom and the girl to the dad. Then the other boys also start feeling like, hey, why is it the dad is too close to our sister? But at the same time, the boy child at the same stage gets closer to the mom because he realizes that as much as dad is strong, but he's not as loving as the mama. So let me get closer to mom so that I get the love of the mom. Then competition comes in between the child and the dad, attention for the son, and then among the other siblings. Why are you trying to be too close to mom? Do you think you're the only son to mom? This is what it was from Mama Moja.
Yeah.
Then memory again. So even the development stage where children are plays a very key role based on how they interpret life and their surrounding at that particular point and time.
Definitely, of course, we're going to go more to that. And let's just get to the comment section, engage our viewers a little bit here and there. Thank you so much, Noreen, for tuning in. And we have Joyce Wambui, who says she's tuned in. Kipro Roda, thank you so much. We have arrived. She says we have, who else is here? Let me just check out. Wycliffe Gaddafi locked in. We have Kipro Roda again. Fatuma Mohamed kuja hapa haraka sana usikie hii story. Kuna James Mwathi amesema amekumbuka. Karibu sana James Mwathi. Geoffreyshun Langat, imperfect madam. Okay, I don't know what is that, but we're going to find out. Peter Masis anasema tuned in from Kenya. Thank you so much. And I gonna highlight a little bit here from James, who says children rivalry and subsequently how it's handled by the caregivers to a large extent shapes development of a child or of the child and functionality in adulthood. Deep. Thank you so much, James, for that. Godi says, is sibling rivalry healthy by any chance? And I think we'll get back to the pros and the cons of it as we proceed on with the conversation. So, Coach, keep that in mind. Again, hierarchy, this is by James, who says, hierarchy, well handled, teaches that there will always be authority in life. If not well handled, it brings entitlement and problematic interpersonal relationships later on in life. Wow, deep. There's a psychologist Mubaba mwenyewe speaking to us tonight. And we have Carol Kinya who says, tuned in. Hi everyone, karibu sana. Hata mimi niko hapa kama kawa. Thank you so much, Adele, for coming through. And we're going to take a quick one so that we discuss another aspect of this rivalry we call jealousy. You know, the biblical jealousy, it comes all the way from the times of Adam and Eve, where we have Abel and Cain. And you know what? I want us to discuss that couch. But before we do that, let's see. We had a discussion some time back with one Reverend Tony Kiyama, and this is what Reverend Tony had to say.
His own brother sold him out. And why did they sell him out? Because they were jealous. So let me ask you guys, why do people get jealous? Why do people struggle with jealousy? Why do even people, and the heart, by the way, no one ever wakes up in the morning and says at 11 p.m. or at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, I will get jealous. But you just walk into a situation and this emotion called jealous just blackens your heart. And if you're not careful, remember this, jealousy is a final step before you become a full-blown witch.
What stood out from me is the witch part. The rest was going well until the witch came in.
Yes.
Coach, you I mean, we can have all the disputes that exist, but people are very, very jealous, and they do it with a lot of zeal. So in the family setting, why would you be jealous of your own blood and flesh?
Okay, one aspect is when kids start developing jealous, some is because of they're still not yet mature to interpret life appropriately, even as they grow and develop. That one can be as they overgrow that stage or they outgrow the stage, then that one doesn't become an issue. But sometimes, like the case of Cain and Abel, one party felt like, why is this guy getting more attention from God than me? It seems God has favored him more than me. So it brought the feeling of jealousy. Esau and Jacob, in fact, the rivalry started from their belly. It's recorded. It started from their belly. They're really fighting from inside. And later on in their development stage, as they grow up, one being a hunter and one being a farmer, what happens? We see the same kind of thing happening again later on in their life and development. Those are some of the key historical events of the issues of jealousy taking place. Now, most of the time, jealousy comes in when one party feels like either the other party is getting more attention or has more privilege or might surpass me in one aspect of life against the other. And solution to such kind of thing is helping people to understand the dynamics of life and the dynamics of whatever they are doing. So that if one, for example, in my field of psychometrics, whenever I do assessment on people, especially on the intelligence level, there are some people who are university material, some are college material, some are gifted and vocational. Now, if one child is vocational and another is university material, the vocational one should not be made to feel you're just music all the time and you're not getting anything in your brain. It's like trying to tell a monkey that a monkey is stupid because it cannot swim like a fish. It doesn't work. Now, such kind of comments, when parents exhibit to the children, it gives room for the children to start being biased towards each other because of the view they are getting from the parents or among themselves based on what they see and they hear. So appreciating dynamics becomes a very key thing, and also teaching children to appreciate dynamics. Some common words, either from the parents or among each other, words like the problem you have. Most of the time, the problem you have, that is a judgmental statement. When a crisis takes place, we need to teach our children to have words like, okay, at this particular time, the problem we have is, you isolate the person from the problem. Once these are distinct, then you discuss the problem and you spare the person. Now, they need to see it from the parents. They need to be intentionally taught as children. Whenever there's a crisis, separate the person from the crisis. Discuss the crisis, isolate the person. Discuss the crisis, spare the person. So once such kind of comments are in Swahili, it sounds even much more weird. Kawaida yako, shida yako wewe, tabia zako wewe. Those are judgmental statements. Once it's some kids, it gets them, it feels like, oh, so it's me. So it seems I'm the problem. Then they start developing guilt consciousness on issues whereby if skills like labeling is addressed well, in case there's a problem with kids, if you have a house help, you have a parent, kindly separate the person from the problem. Address the person, spare the person. Address the problem, spare the person. Attack the problem, spare the person. Skills, part of life skills, to help life the skills. Children view on each other. Yeah.
Yeah, and coach, that's very deep. But there's another aspect that I'm equally interested in, where jealous develop. We all know of that uncle that was visiting the village and nobody went to, say, hey, uncle amekuja. And there's that uncle, when he arrives, all the chickens that had been spared for Christmas on that day, they'll be slaughtered to celebrate his arrival. Do you believe unfairness in terms of how one is viewed to be successful thanks to their financial muscle actually contributes to the growth of jealous and envy among siblings?
Yeah, it is very much possible. When we define success based on only financial income, and maybe someone in the village has bought a car, or in the city a heavy machine in comparison to someone else who has an ordinary automobile, which they are using. It is very much possible that when wrong perspective to success has been instilled among family members, either at a younger stage of age, even towards older stage, you can see sibling rivalry. So since he bought a car, nowadays he doesn't talk to us. Such kind of statements start coming up. Since he stays in a posh estate, nowadays he doesn't visit us, as it used to be in the past. Then you realize this sibling rivalry even taking place to siblings who are over 20 years old of age, because of wrong perspective about life and success. Maybe someone got a good job, his salary is much higher than the others in the family. Then because of such kind of thing, jealousy can come up. And one might feel now, because nowadays he's earning very well, then A, B, C, D. Now, when such kind of scenario comes, it's extremely important for people to have the right perspective towards success in life, towards riches in life, so that you are not distressed about someone who sounds or seem to be somehow advanced in one way or the other, or attaining some other things which at that point others do not have. And especially in a society whereby some things are very rare, when such kind of things happen, it brings an issue. In fact, in some communities, some can go to a sorcerer just against you. Wrong way. Why? Because he bought a car. Instead of everybody celebrating, somebody else has this kind of an achievement. So wrong perspective about success and riches can lead to unnecessary jealousy. Jealousy which is not founded at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I say Noreen agrees with us by saying jealousy is the last step before you become a full-blown witch. And Neema Raquel, karibu sana to the conversation. Most parents are the cause of sibling rivalry. ArtinHeart Family Edition is really sickening. And that's from Kipro Roda. Apparently, parents play a big role in all this. And I see, and I've heard of stories, and of course, experience in other ways that, you know, like the very example I gave earlier on, Coach. Your own mother sees you coming, visiting after so many years. And
Yes.
once you arrive, they are like, so you've come, when are you going back? The first question is, when are you going back? The other one, oh, why do you even want to go? Why don't you stay longer? And in the full-blown light of the other sibling, watching how the mother is embracing this other brother or sister. Where do parents get it wrong?
Actually, many times parents have contributed these problems without consciously not knowing, like in such a scenario. Because one has a good job, he earns very well. When he comes at home, he
I
comes with
guess
a lot of
we
stuff, gifts. Then the mama feels this child has more value and is more important than the other child, who probably is still hustling in one way or the other. Almost sometimes this child might be having other problems like alcohol addiction, anger-related problem, and is being isolated because of the other partner the other brother who is bringing goodies. Under such circumstances, most of the time parents fail. And if you follow it up, the failure which is being seen at this particular time might have come from long time ago. And some, maybe the one who was the best because of how much he earns was terminated from service or the business went down. Then now they shift all the attention to the other child who is bringing in goodies. It's a poor parenting skill. It hurts emotionally most of the other siblings and those who are growing up. Unfortunately, some may think this is part of life and how things ought to be. Parents sometimes fail. No wonder sometimes I say children behavior and perspective is a fruit on how they are raised by their parents. And we have to be extremely careful on how we comment over our children, whether they have resources or they don't have resources. Very key. Parents can fail, and many have failed sometimes.
Thank you so much, Coach. I'll go very quickly to the comment section before we take another quick break. And let me read in from who is this? I see Noreen who says jealousy. No, that one we already went through. Sorry about that. Let me just get this one quickly. Pardon me. We have Njikita who tells me in many families in Africa, in big families, sometimes one or two siblings had the chance to do high studies compared to the others. These differences, these differences of treatment obviously lead to jealousy and rivalry. You know, there's that one that went to high school and then proceeded on to the university, and then they are doing their PhD. Hey, daktari amekuja, engineer amefika. Enda shike kukuchinjia engineer. You know, you are the you know, we sit in our own comedy where when everybody is meeting for the family gathering, they will ask you, oh baba utatumia nini? Nipe white cup. Oh, mwingine utatumia nini? No, some wine, you know, I don't drink so much. Mwingine utakunywa soda gari. Wewe kabla uulizo umemwagiwa crest. Hata nitaka but then again, it starts all the way back at home, and finances actually play a big role. Zena tells me parents are the big cause trouble between children. Hakuna vile utaonyesha mapenzi zaidi upande mmoja kisha utarajia amani. No, lazima kutakuwa na bonge la chuki. I cannot put it any better. Bonge la chuki. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Susie says, and that's the society we are having. Unfortunately, Coach, that is the society we are having. Joshua goes ahead and say, I believe parents are the main cause. For example, of planned or unplanned children. Treatment of both children varies. And this is something actually we ought to discuss, Coach. Coach, I know of people very close that told me, Ellie, my mother was never proud about me. She tells me I'm the reason why she married my father. So anything that came along, every anger that this person had as a parent was being thrown and bashed at this other child. The first one, because they were the mistake, unplanned marriage. And then the ones that were obviously planned for, quote unquote, they became the favored ones. So if this one wants to study, ABCD will be demanded, you know, zima stima yako inamaliza units nani asome.
Yes.
So, I mean, talk about this unplanned children actually. I don't know if we that's the correct term to use it, but I would really want you to discuss that at length, Coach.
It's really unfortunate that mature people who know the law of production, when they have sex without protection, at that time they assume that conception cannot take place. Every responsible partner or individual, whether married or not married, when they have sex without condom or protection measures, there's nothing like accidental pregnancy. It was just a silly decision in the process of action of having sex. Because it is known. Now, because of irresponsible sexual behavior, most of the time now when this kind of happenings come up, a child has come up, conception has taken place, we start to label the child even before delivery. This is an accidental child. He was not planned. Even, and psychologists say that when a child is inside the mother's womb, and at that particular point, it happens that hatred and enmity and negative sentiments are sent toward the child. The hormones released from within the mama affects the development of the child. And some, by the way, their negative effect is so much until it affects them even psychologically and mentally by the time they get delivered. That's why it's very key for a woman to be at a calm state, even during time of pregnancy. Now, parents need to take responsibility. If you play the game with your husband or your boyfriend and you didn't take preventive measures, take responsibility of your action. Don't blame the child because the child did not ask for permission to come. But once you create the environment of the child coming, always remember, out of the million sperms which came, more than 300 million, this one became a winner and it deserves the respect and the love of a child. Now, some, because of ignorance and poor parenting attitudes and skills, that's why I said we study for many years to get degrees, but we don't go even for a 1-week course about issues of parenting and marriage. So our own words damage and destroy our own children, who are the next generation for us. There's a child whose mother used to have such kind of comments each and every time. Upon his day for birthday celebration, he wrote a letter to the mom. Because you've been complaining about all the problems you have, it's because of me. You did not plan about me. I destroyed your life. Today I'm giving you a gift, which you should never forget about it. He committed suicide on the same day for the birthday. So that the mom, so that I'm committing suicide so that I can leave you alone and you can continue living without any trouble. And on the same day of when he was a teenager, it was his birthday, he committed suicide so that he can never be blamed again. He was emotionally damaged by the mom, who is a symbol of authority in his life. And if this is how my mom speaks about me, who else will understand me? Who will accept me? Who will accommodate me? She got a birthday gift of suicide from the son. Parents must be careful on what they speak towards their children. Very key and very important.
You know, now that you mentioned that, reminds me that the whole week from the 5th of September till the 11th, which happens to be today, it's a suicide prevention week. We have a short film prepared for you later on. So stay until the end of it to see what we have actually arranged there. But moving on, Coach, you've mentioned something about, you know, parents using those kind of words that are hurtful to their children. Equally, when they are doing the correction statements and there are two children, you know, one will always get the appraisals. Oh, well done. You know, every good word that comes, it's geared towards one of the children. And then everything wrong that happens is on the other one. Then the other aspect, Coach, that I think we equally need to discuss, it's when you start comparing this child to the other one. Having mentioned earlier that every child is unique in their own way, what is the best approach?
Now, one of the best approach is first to agree and accept that every child is an individual. Two, each and every child personality makeup is different from the other. Apart from that, their development rate also varies depending on several factors. There are some, unfortunately, they become so sickly, which affects their development in one way or the other. Some are very jovial, they catch up with things very fast at the same time because they are very healthy in one way or the other. Some probably, when they're growing up, to the time when the family was passing through a lot of trauma, financial crisis, and whatever they underwent because of the environment at home, really, in one way or the other, affected them indirectly without them knowing at that point of time. Now, as a parent, it is your role to understand the dynamics of the happening during the development stage of your children. And two, it's your role to understand how different they are one to the other so that you can handle them differently. Three, it's your role as a parent to make sure that the comments you make kindly separate your children from the happenings, especially negative happenings. Three, you need to, as a parent, to learn the principle of rewarding and punishment. Very key. Most of parents, they only know how to punish. They don't reward. When your children do something good, reward them all equally, depending on their stage. The reward for a child who is 2 years old won't be the same with a child who is 8 and a child who is 13. Give them rewards based on their development stage. Don't be this kind of a parent. I'll be giving rewards all of you equally. No. Acknowledge their different stage in life. What will please them and make them to be happy is so much different. As you reward them, also learn the principle of punishment. I'll give an example. I had a neighbor some years back. The parent used to spank him accordingly, to the point whereby this young boy became so sugu. When he's being spanked, he doesn't cry anymore. He just stands, the father spanks him, then he goes. Then the father thought to himself, now, what can I do as the best way to help this boy to develop and understand the pain of the choices which he's making? Then he realized what my son loves more is eating too much, especially chapatis. So one day he did a mistake when the parents were preparing the chapatis. So what did the father do? Instead of spanking the boy, he told him, hey, today you're not taking your supper. Bang! It hit the boy like a bomb. Like, do you mean all the good smell of chapati I'm getting now? Nitakula kwa macho. It hit him so much. And then the father knew this is the best way to handle this boy so that he can reform when he makes some of the mistakes. It got him so well until he had to decide, hey, if some of this behavior can make me to miss chapati, I better reform and start cooperating with the instruction of my dad. It worked well with him at that point. Every child, reward them and punish them based on the stage where they are. And apart from that, learn the principle of warning even before some punishments. It helps them to learn how to relate with authorities from home, where parents are the key symbol of authority. Very, very important. Parenting is key at this particular point in time.
Well, unfortunately, everything is leading back to the parents. And I believe some parents will be saying, yeah, but we have children that you tell everything that it goes through one ear and leaves through the other. However, that is a discussion for another day. And coach, I'm informed that equally we have to use the words correction other than punishment, just in case people believe we are punishing. That's very criminal. So we apologize if those words do not augur well with some ears. Okay, fine. Let me just again appreciate everybody that is watching tonight. Thank you so much, Luis Andonye, watching us live on YouTube. Yes, we have a YouTube channel. In case you want to go there, just always head to the ArtinHeart official on YouTube. That is the ArtinHeart official on YouTube, and of course that's the ArtinHeart on Facebook, equally on Instagram, and always drop us a mail in case you want to have a conversation with us with everything we discuss here on ArtinHeart. Let me just move on to the next comments that are coming through, Coach. Without much delay, because I know time is not of our luxury tonight. We have, wow, Frida has quite some composition there. I'm going to take some time to read through. Okay. Frida, let's see what Frida is saying. I feel like parents go through their own issues in life, so they might think they did the best, yet it wasn't enough. Now back to us grown-ups. Take your time to know your traumas and how they affected you, then take the responsibility to fix that. We call it growing up. Own up and fix your life. It helps not just you, but the people you relate with. It is the responsibility as grown-ups to fix our traumas. All right? This makes one to compete with the others just to feel like he or she is part of the family. At least we also get some love like the favorite ones does. And coach, it's interesting because you and I had some conversations some time back where there was this family that one brother was attacking the other one, furious messages. Wewe tu ndio unaona nitakana ulipie mama hospitali. Tangu uende ng'ambo naye kazi yako ya kuosha choo unaringa sana. So you're wondering, how does me helping my sickly mom and you who is supposed to be able to do it, not doing it, become a problem? And it comes with the thing we're talking about when there is hierarchy, thanks to the financial ability and age. And then there is the possibility of now the weakly ones showing the ability to actually grow and eventually being in position to help. In 2 minutes, can you tell us something about this and how we can actually manage?
In our family family system structure in African context, you realize that from the time memorial, positions in which every person was an issue of great honor and respect. For example, if your father dies, the firstborn is automatically assumes the role of being a father to the others, because we live on a culture what we call Ubuntu, sisi kwa sisi. I am what I am because you are what you are. That's the kind of a culture where we grew up, and people respecting each other and one another. And there's so many activities that are taking place within our traditions and culture, which made each and every party and a member of the community and the family to be given respect and honor. Unfortunately, or fortunately on one side, fortunately the firstborn is not a guarantee it will be the one earning more than all the others. People get to different careers, different type of income. When they grow up valuing one another, if you are the third born and you earn the most, you want to look down on your second born and third born because it does not match just like you. Because your identity is not based on how much you earn, but how much you know who you are as a person. That's very key. At the moment, our identity is based on our achievement, and we handle people based on our achievement, which is a common problem. You find someone getting to home, it's a soldier, it's a police, it's a manager. He handles others as if they are part of the staffs of his company because of his career. If he's a police or a soldier, he makes the other siblings to run up and down as if he's in the police station or in the barracks. Or if someone is a medic, he handles others as if they're patients in the home. So they carry their career to their home, their personal success to run over others at home, forgetting that relationship plays much key essence than what you have achieved at that particular time, because things change. Like COVID has shown us a lot of dynamics in life. Who could imagine today some of the people are earning very well in private institution, COVID could make them literally to close the institution and banks are on their necks. Now try to imagine if you're the one owning the school and looking down on the others because they don't earn like you. This is the time where you realize things have changed. Or another example I can give, one is married, the others are not privileged maybe to be married, a man or a woman. So because you are the second born or the third born, you happen to get a husband or a wife earlier than the others, then you look down on them. Where you see my husband, you see my wife, you see I'm not like you are 40 years old, you have never been married, we are better than you, it seems there's something wrong with you. Second, then you damage them, then suddenly your husband or your wife dies, who was a source of your identity, while others start progressing. It totally kills that individual because you have no authority even to talk to them. So our personal achievements should not be a symbol of our identity. No wonder we need to ask ourselves this great question: who am I? And how? What marks my real identity? A question which in our system of education, it is never defined, neither addressed, because we are trained to understand our environment and we get certified for how better we understand our environment and the behaviors within our environment. But about ourselves, it's a puzzle.
Well, I want to discuss about the puzzle as we proceed on. And yes, who am I beyond my success? What can I identify with when all these titles are stripped out? Who am I? Let's take a very quick break, and when we come back, we want to see how rivalry can then be used as a plus and not as a negative, and get conclusions to this beautiful discussion. You're watching the Family Edition. Welcome back. My name is Likuyani Eli, and of course, this is the Family Edition. I'm hanging out with Coach Collins Bolo, who is telling me, despite having rivalry among siblings, we can actually switch that negative feeling to a positive effect and harness it to build better relationships. Coach, if I did well because I worked hard and I showed you how you can proceed and be better than myself as we compete amongst ourselves, Is that a bad thing after all, coach?
We need to separate our personal career success from the relationship we have one to the other. Careers change. The value and the respect for career also change. Today might be regarded in your community the greatest because of the career you have, but once the dynamics of change of career come in and that's your identity, you are finished at that particular point. Now, meaning we are getting back to the drawing board. What describes my value as an individual? Because the moment we define that very well, then it doesn't matter which career you are coming from, it doesn't matter the background of how much you're earning, the relationship you have has more value than the income which you are getting. Especially in a society whereby most of the majority of our people, their income is based on a job, job. Anytime you can be terminated. And once you're terminated and your debt is there, you are finished. When you go back to the village and they call you Mweshimiwa, that's a statement before asking you for money. One person say, if 9 people around you are broke and they're coming to source money from you, know that you're the 10th one. You are finished at that particular point. So defining ourselves, our worth, and our value is very key from our home. Now, that means as siblings, our parents need to help us to learn the culture of celebrating each one of us as individuals. Culture of celebrating individuality, very key. Celebrate your brother who is a farmer. Celebrate your brother who is probably a runner. Celebrate your brother who is a singer. Celebrate your brother who is a lawyer. Or celebrating each other helps the family to bond, and it makes the sibling rivalry to go down. Not only that, each family needs to have what we call family fun time. Just like in corporate, today we have team building activities, whereby people go out as staffs, they start having activities which makes them to break the barrier, career barrier, which they have in the office, and they relate as human beings at that point. At home, we need to have that kind of a thing whereby we go out, we interact, and we talk. Now, as a father and a mother, if you want to, so when you go for such kind of activity and you want to know how your children think about you, ask them this question, but carefully. My children, when you look at me, what do you see? Be very careful, because you might get answers which will hit you like anything else. But if you honestly want to know how they view you, so that you can see on how you can bond even more and more, it's very good. As a family at that point, you need to develop a culture by kids treat each other fairly, not necessarily equally. That issue of treating everybody equally does not work, because even if they are twins or triplets who are born the same day from the same mother and father, they cannot all be treated equally. But we need what we call equitable or fairly, based on their personality, their abilities, their worth. And that will make them to learn the culture that it is possible. People can work together as a team in spite of dynamics, and they can still grow to become well.
Thank you. I want to take a question from Frida, coach, so that you can be able to respond to it. I find it of great importance. As we come to the close of this topic and discussion, hi, coach, what's your take on learning to say no to your siblings or even parents on occasions you feel there is pressure to be the one providing or doing a lot in the family? I know, coach, you want to answer this. I know that for sure. But guess what? This is our next topic next week. So, Frida, why don't you stay? Because we'll be actually discussing this. It came at the right time. I also feel like parents did this, and yes, you already discussed that question. But, coach, as we close down, I want you to take a minute or so and address the issue of suicide as a mental health issue. What is your, what would you say? Because we, eventually with all these competitions that are ongoing, people end up saying, I've heard people say in their families, nitajinyonga ndio mfurahi kwa hii boma, nitajinyonga. Ni kama mimi ndio nawasumbua hapa, nitajinyonga nitoke. You see, it comes from a simple competition amongst themselves. It ends to something that takes somebody's life, or equally murdering one another. Cain, a good example. What would you say to parents?
To each and every parent who might be listening to me, suicide is not something common, it's not something ordinary and normal. Thoughts create feelings, and feeling lead to different kind of behavior. It can be positive, reinforced, or negative. By the time someone gets to a point of feeling like I better die than to live, probably there are several stressing factors which the skill to resolve the problems do not exist from the family. Most of the time when people commit suicide, it's not because they are not paid well. Sometimes it has a lot to do with skills on how to tackle dynamics of issues and problems which they face. And due to lack of those kind of skills, people get to the point of being stressed, distressed, hopeless. And once they get to the point of being hopeless, as an emotional effect, then it starts affecting even their mental health and the way they think and perceive life.
Mhm.
No wonder they say when such kind of thought starts coming in and they're being entertained, high chances, probability are this person may implement the same. 2 weeks ago, there was a primary school kid in part of Nyanza. He was crying with a lot of bitterness with a knife on his hands. He wanted to cut himself and to kill himself. And I could see teachers and students telling him, please don't kill yourself. Usijue, that those good consoling words, which at that particular point, it doesn't make sense to this child. The knife was taken from his hands, but the following morning he was found hanging on the tree. The big question is mental health real or not real? People need help to understand themselves, to understand their feelings, to have greater self-awareness about everything happening around them. So that after all is said and done, when treatment is needed, it can be there. When counseling therapy is needed, it can be offered. And finally, we are going to have a healthy society. But all it starts with parenting. How we handle our children, how we make them to feel by what we say towards them. It's very key towards forming very healthy mental environment. Parents, we have a task to do. Let's help our children. Let them build them up. Let us make them to feel their potential king and queens for tomorrow by creating a good environment for them to be prince and princess. Back to you, Eddie.
Well, Coach, what an insight, what a discussion, what a show. We can never exhaust everything that we want to say on this 1 hour. But all I can say tonight is I hope there's one thing you took out of this is treat your children as you would have treated yourself. If you would have treated yourself with love, then treat yourself with love. We'll be talking to Derek Waswa tomorrow in Against All Odds, and he's an amazing director, producer, and actor based in Kenya. His stories are amazing, and this is just but what he created for ArtinHeart. See you next time on the Family Edition. Remember to follow and like the pages, TheArtsinHeart on Facebook, TheArtsinHeart on YouTube, and you can equally get in touch with Coach Collins Bolo with the following handles: Facebook and Instagram. That is Collins Bolo on Instagram, at Bolo Collins, and cell that is 254 721 605 347. Again, I'll take that again. Follow him on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Collins Bolo on Instagram. It is at Bolo Collins. And the cell phone number is +254 721 605 347. Thank you so much, Coach, for coming through. And I hope to see you next week as we tackle more and more questions, especially when you have to say no to those parents that are demanding. Till next time, have a beautiful weekend. And my name is Likuyani Eli.
2014, beloved comedian and actor Robin Williams died by suicide, tragically bringing to light a major public health issue that is more widespread than most people realize. Each year, over 800,000 people die from suicide, roughly one death every 40 seconds. And for every adult who dies of suicide each year, it's estimated that over 20 more have made suicide attempts.
This is National Youth Council Kenya.
With Spread Truth Africa on September the 10th.
We commemorate the World Suicide Prevention Day at the Rehabilitation Center of Operation 612. As National Youth Council, together with our partner Spread Truth and all other stakeholders, is a moment for us to do reflections. What is it that we are doing to actually prevent suicide? And this, as Hamisi has said, we have achieved this through the Kikao platform. So the Kikao model provides an opportunity for the young people to actually sit together and discuss about the challenges they are facing. But the most unique thing about Kikao is that in the same platform, the same safe space, young people are able to come up with solutions towards the challenges we are facing in the country. And that's why we've done this across the country, providing those safe spaces for the young people to actually come up with the solutions that are affecting it. In commemorating this day, there are so many needs that we need to look at as a society together. There is need as a society, as a country, first of all, to identify and understand that actually suicide is a problem. It's a contemporary problem that young people are battling with, and that we need all of us to unite in fighting this. And that realization alone calls each one of us and calls us to action.
And also, Roy, there is a need for us to be a brother's keeper.
Mental disorders are also a major risk factor, and the suffering and despair that lead to suicide can actually be increased by feelings of isolation and aloneness. Because of that, connectedness is crucial to individuals who may be vulnerable.
But also, Roy, there is a need in the country for us to be our brother's keeper. Because we know with the pandemic, it has brought a lot of isolation. It has brought a lot of social distancing among the young people and each other. But we know that we need to be our brother's keeper. In that way then, not only are we going to prevent, but we're going to eliminate completely suicide in Kenya.
That calls all of us to action. That mental wellness campaign, advocacy, is our individual responsibility collectively as a society. And that's why in Kiswahili we say, Nikufariji,
Unifariji,
tufarijiane.